call it the Halpern Hotel anymore. In guidebooks, it's a scrap of rumor, a building shaped like a bruise on the corner of Brook and Lyle, boarded for decades. Memory warped by what happened in 1965. The six of us, Bella, David, Lucy, Mark, Anna, and Chris, arrived at dusk with a thrill-seeker's grin, and the urban explorer's backpack headlamp, spare batteries, a pocket recorder, a cheap EMF meter we bought for laughs, and the naive conviction that the past can't touch you if you keep your shoes on. A chain-link fence drooped around the lot like a tired belt. The facade rose from the weeds in tiers of square windows, most of them blind. The neon sign, once a red beacon promising vacancy, was a single letter, now an H, shattered and jagged. The street's hum dulled into a hush, and somewhere in the alley, a bottle rolled and tapped itself to silence. We had a key. Don't ask how. A collector who knew a caretaker who knew a locksmith. The door's brass plate was carved with curls and lilies. When Bella slid the key in the lock, refused twice, then yielded like a throat clearing. The hinges exhaled a tired rasp, a drawn-out scrape that sounded like a warning dragged across tile. In the lobby, every surface seemed to keep its breath. The chandelier was a fossilized icicle. The front desk, a dark oak tomb with a bell on it. When Mark couldn't resist, he tapped the bell. It answered with a dull, crooked ding that seemed to echo from some wrong corner of the room. A portrait of Arthur Halpern hung behind the desk. We'd all read the legend, a war veteran with a smile like a blueprint owner and manager of this respectable stopover for traveling salesmen and honeymooners. Then something broke in him, grief or greed, or the cold electricity of a brain gone wrong. And one winter week in 1965, guests went missing. The police found evidence and no bodies. They found the piano in the ballroom, playing with no hands. They found water in the fourth-floor tubs that wouldn't drain. The city shut the place, sealed it with lawsuits and whispers. No one ever explained why the bedside Bibles all opened to the same page. Guys, Lucy said, reading the tarnished rate board. $8 a night breakfast included. That's either adorable or yikes. David laughed too hard. He kept laughing when no one else did, so he pivoted. So what's the plan? 2 floors tonight, 2 tomorrow. We're not sleeping here, Anna said. We'll do the rooms, the ballroom, the kitchen, the service corridors. Chris said, map unfolded. No solo wandering, no splitting up for cute shots. Except for Bella, Mark added, teasing. Bella gets the heroin arc. Bella rolled her eyes. She's the one who can charm dead air. She raised her phone, filming the sweep of the lobby. From somewhere deep beyond the desk, a soft mechanical clatter started metal against metal, like an old register waking up, and then stopped so fast it left a little ringing in our ears. The front desk ledger was still there, under a pile of dust. The last written line read, January 14th, 1965, M. Reeves RM, 412. The page after it was blank, except for one word scrawled by a different hand, stay. We moved as a cluster through the arch into the main hall. Our shoes clicked on the mosaic floor, tap, 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 until the sound curved away down a side corridor, as if someone else had copied our rhythm and kept walking without it. Bella checked her recorder. The red light winked. She held it like a small animal that might bolt. The ballroom doors were cracked. We pushed them and stepped into a room where elegance had drained, but the bones of it remained a raised stage at the far end. Dusty velvet curtains drooping like melted wine. Round tables under sheets like ghosts pretending to sleep. The grand piano sat angled toward the floor lid, propped keys bared in an ivory grin flecked with dirt. Without anyone touching it, 3 notes sounded low, lower then. A brittle high, like a child practicing a scale and forgetting the middle. Lucy swore under her breath. Bella, because she's Bella, walked toward the stage. As she crossed the scuffed parquet, a faint metronome started up tick, 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 though there was no metronome in sight. The ticks staggered, speeded, and then clicked to a stop the instant she reached the piano. It's airflow, David said too quickly. Temperature differentials, wood contracts. YouTube explained it. Explain this, Mark said, pointing at the inside of the piano lid. Across the wood, written in something faded and brown, a sentence had been fingered through dust. Check in, never check out. From the kitchen wing came a slow drip, 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 so steady and so far apart that each drop sounded like it had to climb up a ladder to fall. Chris took point toward the kitchen, the rest of us trailing. As we approached the swinging door, it creaked back and forth twice in its own eek, creak, eek, though no breeze touched our faces. The kitchen was a cold frame of steel tables and stubborn stains. The walk-in freezer's door wore a dent the size of a man's panic. A copper pot lay belly up in a corner. Somewhere above, a pipe shivered, and we heard water whisper through it, like someone telling secrets in a tight throat. So far, it's a lot of old house noises, David said, but his voice had thinned. He touched the freezer door, then jerked his hand back. It's vibrating. Basement, Chris said. If there's power anywhere, it'll be low. If there's a breaker panel, a telephone rang. One clean bell glass note far away. Then another, then a third. It wasn't a cell. It was a ghost of a landline, proper and prim. We all froze, heads tilted toward the sound like dog. It rang again, more insistent, and this time it sounded like it came from the front desk. Mark ran first. We chased him back into the lobby where the desk phone sat like a prop in a play. It wasn't plugged in. The cord was a frayed tail cut short. The bell inside the phone chimed anyway. Ding, G. Bella reached for the receiver. David caught her wrist. No. She looked at him, really looked, and something in her face softened. Okay. She let the ring die. In the quiet that followed, a far elevator moaned in its shaft, a cable's low throat sound rising and falling once, as if a car somewhere, somehow, had changed one ghostly floor. We took the stairs instead. The stairwell held a deep, echoing hush, and our footsteps came back to us 1 second late, as if a group just behind us climbed too. 4th floor. The hallway laid itself out like a ribbon. The carpet had faded to the memory of red. The brass numbers on the doors were tarnish islands. 401, 403, 405. We stopped at 412 more, because the story led us, than because we had a plan. Inside room 412 was like every hotel room after a fire that never burned the bed, made the Bible on the nightstand. And the closet door cracked the bathroom daylighting tile that remembered mirrors and strangers. When Chris flipped the wall switch, the dead fixture above blinked, once tick, and gave up. We spread out Mark, cataloging Anna, filming the view of the alley. Lucy testing the closet, David in the bathroom, humming to steady himself, or pretending he wasn't. His hum tangled with a soft bathroom echo hum that wasn't synced with his breath, a half-second lag, like an answer. Guys, David called. You need to see this. The bathroom mirror ate us up as we leaned in. The silvering had freckled away in the corners. Somewhere in the room, the radiator gave a little clank, timid metal knuckle knocking. On the glass, written backwards so we could read it when we stared into our own faces, was the word welcome. There were no fingerprints, just the clarity of a finger's path. That wasn't there when we came in, Lucy said. Condensation, David said because he wanted the world to be reasonable. Oil on glass. Someone wrote it years ago, and behind us the closet door whispered shut with a felted thud, and the brass hanger hooks inside clinked once plink like teeth. Anna stepped toward it with more courage than she felt. The closet held a caterpillar of wire hangers and a smell like old wool. The floor of it was scuffed with crosshatches marks, like footsteps had frayed the paint, then been painted over, then frayed it again. Okay, Chris said. We document and we go. Lobby ballroom kitchen, 412. That's enough for tonight. He didn't say, we keep to the buddy system again, because it would sound like begging. Through the open bathroom door, the faucet began to drip, plip, 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 though the handle stood straight and dry. David moved to turn them anyway. As he touched the tap, a thin pipe laugh rattled in the wall, titter-titter, like little beads racing through metal. The drip stopped. Bella stood at the window for a long time, staring at the alley. She said, "Do you smell oranges? We all did a ghost of citrus, polite and wrong here." In the 1965 notes, the guests who disappeared had all ordered breakfast with fresh juice. Trivia like that sticks to people like us. We toured 2 more rooms, 410 and 408, finding nothing but dust compositions and the disagreeable sense that the building had learned our names. The sun had slung itself down, night asserting itself with the confidence of a remembered habit. From somewhere below, the lobby bell gave a single distant ding, though no one stood at the desk. Time, Chris said. Stairs. Out. We retraced. The corridor breathed a draft, and a door far down swung on its chain and knocked tonk-tonk-tonk like a neighbor with impeccable timing. The ballroom was darker, the piano shadowed like an animal that had lowered its head. As we crossed the lobby, the chandelier made the faintest glass talk, tinny chimes kissing and then settling to mark the air's shift. At the door, Bella froze. "Don't move," she said softly. We all obeyed without understanding why we trusted the way her instincts lifted the hairs on her arms. The brass plate on the door, the one we'd slid the key into, wasn't brassy anymore. It had darkened like metal left out in rain, and the keyhole was full. The key was gone. "You took it, right?" Mark asked Chris. "Please tell me you took it." "I never touched it," Chris said. In the quiet that stacked up, the far elevator moaned again, longer, lower, and a rough whisper threaded the hall like page edges, rubbing from a book being thumbed by no one. David didn't wait for consensus. We're not trapped. There's a service exit. Rear stairs. He marched toward the service corridor behind the desk. We followed because leaving one of us alone felt like a sin the building would punish at once. The service corridor smelled like damp rope. A tiny ceiling fan, no bigger than a pie pan, turned with a dry paper scrape shick. Shick. Shick pushing air that didn't mean anything. The rear door had a deadbolt and a push bar. The deadbolt wore a key already inserted, antique and heavy, as if the building had decided to make it easy. David took it turned. Click. He pressed the bar. The door did not move. He pressed again. Something on the other side groaned. Wood on wood, boats docked moaned, and then settled like a weight, re-leaned against it. Blocked, Chris said, voice tight. From outside, a long, low note spilled from above us like the piano had dropped its face onto a single key and fallen asleep there, the sound bending sour around the edges. Bella's recorder blinked. She lifted it, thumb shaking. Arthur Halpern, she said to the air, to the portrait in the lobby, to the date 1965 in our heads. If you can hear me, we don't mean disrespect. "We just want to document. We'll leave." From somewhere right next to her ear, a whisper hissed, "Stay." And the recorder captured it with a brittle crackle that made our teeth ache. We backed together a six-pointed star collapsing into a cluster. The building felt taller around us, as if it had stretched. Then down the service hall, a single hotel room door, one that shouldn't have been on a service hall at all, slammed itself shut with a gunshot clap that sent dust leaping. We ran. Panic is its own map. It points the way back to fear's source. We ended up ridiculously inevitably back in room 412. Chris barricaded the door with a dresser whose legs skittered. Down the hall, footsteps began measured heavy, heel-toe, marching toward us without hurry. The knob shivered once and went still. The footsteps stopped outside. No one breathed. In the silence, a drip started in the bathroom again. Plip, plip, plip. And then, as if it had been holding its breath too, the piano answered with a crooked lullaby from below, three halting notes descending into a whisper. David said, "I'll check the bathroom." He said it like he was offering to fetch ice to control something small. He slipped inside. The rest of us stared at the hallway's gap under the door, half praying for shadows, half praying against them. Behind the closed bathroom door came the soft sigh of water starting a thread of stream hitting an empty basin with a bright, glassy tinkle. "It's just a leak," David called. His voice bounced off tile tinny doubled, and then cut in half, as if something had put a palm over his mouth. "Guys, we moved at once." Bella reached the handle first. It turned easily, too easily, the latch tongue slicking back like a smile. The door opened. David stood at the sink with both hands braced on the porcelain. He looked as if he'd had a thought and lost it. The faucet gave one last little spit titch and went dry. He was pale. I saw he cut himself off, choosing not to tell us, but saving it for later, as if later was guaranteed. We closed ranks around him, and we made a plan. We didn't mean rest a minute. Drink water, wait for the panic's heat to ebb, try the rear door again. From deep in the walls, a slow, rhythmic thumping began. Thum, 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 like a housekeeping cart that never got the memo it was 60 years late. We didn't sleep. Part of survival is pretending you can. And then the building changed its mind about patience. Every door on the floor clicked in quick succession, locks, turning as if a concierge had done a pass with a master key. The knob on 412 turned a fraction of an inch against our barricade, then stopped decorous as a cough. David swallowed. "Okay," he said to the door to the air to us. "Okay, I'll go ask nicely." He picked up the recorder, opened it in his palm like he was offering it back. "If this is your place, we'll leave now. We'll tell your story. You don't need us." The hallway answered with a sound like a smile. You could hear a slow, velvety scrape of something heavy dragging away from the rear exit. We looked at each other, all of us bright, with the sudden possibility of escape. "Now," Chris said, "we go now." We unbarricaded like stagehands. From the ballroom below, the piano played one gentle chord, polite as a bellhop's nod, and then fell silent as if it didn't want to scare us off too quickly. We stepped into the hall. The corridor stretched ahead perfectly straight, the red runner a faded artery. David took the lead because courage and guilt sometimes wear the same jacket. We walked toward the rear stairs and whatever waited beyond. We did not notice because fear can be a blindfold that in the bathroom mirror, long after we left the room, like the word welcome had rearranged itself into two shorter words, come. Home. The six of us thought the worst was behind us when the rear corridor gave way. We believed the hotel had loosened its grip. But the truth was crueler. It had only just begun to decide which of us it would keep. We moved together, pressed tight through the shadow-stretched corridor. Every step we took was echoed by another set of steps, slower, heavier, as if boots trailed exactly 5 paces behind. David tried to joke, but his lips shook. Bella's recorder blinked red, capturing everything. At the stairwell, Chris held up a hand. Basement first. If there's a way out, it's down. We hesitated because basements mean confinement, and confinement meant no sky. But the lobby door had vanished behind us. Where the double brass doors once stood was only a wall of faded wallpaper roses blooming over plaster. Not possible, Lucy whispered. We came through here. I remember the cracks on the tile. The wallpaper gave a soft tearing sound, rip like skin opening under pressure. We bolted for the basement stairs. The descent was a throat-narrow, unlit stone steps that seemed to curve longer than the building allowed. The sound of dripping followed us, plip, 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 but sped up the deeper we went, until it was no longer drops, but a steady stream we couldn't see. The air grew colder. Our breath smoked like we had entered a freezer. At the bottom, a door sagged on iron hinges. Chris shoved it. The door groaned, like a giant woken unwillingly from its sleep. The basement revealed itself in slices of flashlight shelves of rotted linens, broken wine bottles glittering like teeth crates with numbers painted in flaking white. In the center was a chair, a single wooden chair bolted to the floor. Leather straps dangled from its arms. On the wall behind it, a dark smear climbed up like a shadow that never learned to stop. David stepped closer. It's an interrogation chair. His voice shook, or worse. From above us, faintly, the piano began to play again, 3 high notes, cheerful out of place, like children laughing at a funeral. We spun our lights upward, but the ceiling was only cement. The music wasn't in the air. It was in the walls. Lucy screamed. She had been staring at the chair, but now her flashlight fixed on the far corner. A bathtub, rusted white enamel streaked brown, and inside it, water. Perfectly clear water that rippled though no hand touched it. Drip, drip, drip from a pipe overhead. Drops fell into the tub blooming crimson as they struck spreading blood through the water like ink in a glass. Don't, Bella warned. But Lucy had already stepped forward, drawn as if by a magnet. The water reflected her face, distorted red-tinged eyes, not her own. She leaned closer, trembling. Luciana grabbed her shoulder. Too late. The water erupted, splashed, drenching Lucy as crimson foam surged over the rim, filling the basement with the iron stench of blood. She screamed, clawing at her skin. It's in me. Get it off. She stumbled back, but the water clung like oil red, soaking her dress. We tried to pull her away. Chris grabbed her arm, David her waist, but her body went stiff. From the tub came a low sucking sound, glurp, like the bath itself was breathing, pulling air and flesh together. Lucy's scream was drowned as the water surged again, wrapping her, dragging her back into the tub. Her nails scraped the tile screen. Sparks flying from her desperate claw. With one last gasp, she disappeared under the bloody surface. The water calmed. Only ripples remained. And then it drained, as if through a plug, leaving the tub bone dry. Lucy was gone. Silence. Only the drip returned, plip, 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 mocking us with its steady calm. Anna collapsed to her knees. She's gone. No. Bella shook her head violently. Not gone. Take it. Chris swallowed hard. 5 left. We stick together. That's the only way. David laughed high and broken. 5 left, like the hotel is counting. Somewhere deeper in the basement, a door slammed. Bang so hard the shelf-rattled bottles shattered into cascading glass chimes. The echo rolled like thunder through stone. The hotel had tasted its first blood, and it was hungry for more. We were 5 now. The air in the basement pressed on us like a wet blanket, heavy with the smell of rust and blood. Nobody spoke. Our flashlights cut trembling cones through the dark, and every corner seemed to wait for us to blink. Chris forced himself forward. We need stairs. A service stair, anything. This place doesn't end in a basement. It connects. We find it. We get out. His voice was steady, but his hands weren't. Behind us, the chair's leather strap creaked, eek, as if something unseen had just settled into it. We spun around, but the chair was empty. Still, the strap swayed, whispering against the wood. Bella clutched her recorder. It's watching us. Whatever he was, Halpern, he's still here. David snapped. Stop saying his name. You keep giving him attention. That's how these things get stronger. From the far wall came a faint tapping tack. Tack, tack, like fingernails scratching to get out. We moved together through the maze of shelves and crates. The sound followed light and deliberate, always just a few feet behind. Anna grabbed Bella's arm. Don't look back. Don't give it your face. The corridor narrowed, lined with storage lockers, their doors rusting in place. David tried when it shrieked on its hinges. Empty, save for a single shoe. Another locker, a suitcase with tags from 1964. Its leather split clothes rotted into dust. As he kicked the suitcase aside, metal clink, chink, 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 like knives jostling together. Where's that coming from? Chris asked. No answer. The sound grew louder. Clink, 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 like someone sharpening steel in the dark. David laughed nervously. It's pipes. Old buildings do this. But his laugh cracked halfway, and we all heard the line. The sound escalated into rhythm. Shh, shh. Blades dragged across stone close circling us. Our lights bounced in every direction, but nothing gleamed. Then David gasped. His flashlight dropped beams spinning across the floor. He clutched his chest. Something, his words cut short. A wet stab thunk echoed though no hand held a knife. Blood bloomed through his shirt. We screamed, lunged to grab him, but he staggered back. Another stab, thunk this time in his side. He cried out, spittle flying. It's cutting me. Nothing was there. No attacker, no blade. Just the air carving him open. The stabbing sounds multiplied. Thunk, 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 thunk. Each strike echoed louder until the basement rang like a butcher's block. David convulsed his body, jerking as invisible blades pierced again and again. Anna tried to shield him, waving her arms at the empty space. Bella screamed his name into the recorder as if it could bargain. Chris pulled Mark away because there was no stopping it. Blood sprayed in thin arcs, hitting the concrete with a sickening splatter, splush, splush, painting the walls in streaks. David's voice shredded into gurgles. He dropped to his knees, his eyes locked on Bella wide and pleading as if asking for forgiveness. One last stab, crunch sank deep into his chest. He collapsed forward, twitching once, then stilled. Silence. No knives clattered to the ground. No weapons to prove what we saw. Just David's body carved like a slaughtered animal, blood spreading into the cracks of the floor. From somewhere above, the piano began again, and this time, a broken waltz, plunk, 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 played with the cruel joy of a child twisting a music box key too far. Anna sobbed into her hands. Mark slammed his fist against the wall. We can't fight this. We're next. One by one. Bella raised the recorder, tears on her face. No, it wants fear. It wants us to give up. If we don't, maybe it won't win. Chris shook his head. It already is. From the hallway behind us, the sound of knives scraping stone returned. Shh. Only this time it faded away satisfied. We left David's body behind. Not because we wanted to, but because the hotel wouldn't let us take him. The moment Chris tried to drag him, a low growl rolled through the basement, grrr, like the whole building warning us. So we ran. Up the back stairs past the wallpaper that had become flesh-colored, pulsing faintly, as if the walls themselves were breathing. We didn't notice, not until Bella turned back, that David's eyes had opened again. And they were following us. We were four: Bella, Chris, Anna, and Mark. Blood had found us twice. It was learning our names, and the hotel had more rooms to show us. We took the back staircase two at a time, bursting out onto the third floor, a corridor dressed in faded red and the smell of bleach and old cigarettes. A brass plaque read, "Housekeeping," the letters tarnished to bruise green. Mark, always the one who needed to do something, shouldered the door. Inside, rolling carts, linen bundles tied with cord glass bottles labeled with neat black script stain remover lie bluing. From the hallway behind us came a low rubbery squeal like a room service cart's wheels turning by themselves. "Don't look," Bella said, voice hushed but sharp. "We pick a room, we lock it, we breathe." Room 306 answered our panic with a door already ajar. The bed inside was neatly made, hospital corners crisp, as if a housekeeper had just smoothed them with flat palms. The curtains were closed, but light leaked around their edges like the last smile of a dying day. The door sighed shut behind us with a belted thump, and the latch clicked chick without anyone touching it. Chris jammed a chair under the knob. Anna pulled the curtains open. The window looked toward the alley, the same alley where Lucy had first smelled oranges. On the pane, condensation filmed in a delicate lace. There was a folded tent card on the nightstand, turned down service upon request. On the reverse, in a faded font, "Let us prepare your rest." "Cute," Mark said, forcing a smile. "We'll request a ladder instead." He was already at the window lock, testing the frame. The sash was painted shut. Somewhere in the wall, a pipe ticked twice, tick-tick, like a pocket watch being wound by a careful hand. Bella paced to the closet. "Don't," Anna warned, but Bella opened it anyway. Inside a stiff gray robe, 2 extra pillows, a stack of fresh sheets and paper sleeves. Halpern Hotel embossed in red. Someone had initialed the bottom sheet with blue laundry pencil, MR. Chris exhaled. "We lower ourselves from the window," he said. "Tie the sheets, make a rope. 3 floors isn't nothing, but it's better than staying." "That's my line," Mark said, but without heat. He tore the paper sleeves with his teeth, the sound clean as ripping cloth. He knotted the first sheet to the second, then the third, tugging to test the strength. As he pulled, the fabric gave a soft hiss, like breath slipping through parted lips. "See," Mark said, trying bravado on like a jacket. Strong, he fed the knotted length under the foot of the bed and around the frame twice, hauling until the sheets kissed the wood. The bed answered with a long, complaining creak that made our molars buzz. Bella filmed everything, whispering names, dates, what we were doing, like an anchor tossed into churning water. "This is room 306, she said softly. "If anyone hears this, we try to leave. If you are a guest of 1965 and you can hear me." She stopped herself, realizing she was talking to the wrong century. From far below, faint through the bones of the building, the ballroom piano stumbled through 3 notes, plunk, plunk, plink, then fell silent as if someone had shut its lid with two careful hands. Anna knelt to help Mark not. Her hands were steady, her eyes were not. "You go first," she told him. "You're the heaviest. If it holds you, it'll hold us." Mark flashed a look that might have been gratitude. He cranked the window latch with both thumbs until the paint seal gave. The sash let go with a sticky pop-pop, and the glass rattled in its cradle tink like thin ice being tapped. Cold alley air pressed in. The smell of oranges came again, impossible tender. Mark leaned out, judging the drop, then pulled back and looped the sheet rope around his waist. "Don't wrap it that way," Chris said automatically, safety reflex overriding fear. "If you slip, I won't slip," Mark said. "I'm not giving this place my throat." The curtain rod above us gave a tiny metallic ping bang like a fork set down on china. "Fast," Bella urged. "Please." Mark climbed onto the sill. For a heartbeat, he was only a man in a window here, moving an alley when the sheet rope white against his jacket. Then he swung his legs out and began to go down hand-over-hand boots, scraping softly on the brick. The sheet rope whispered against the sill shh as it slid, and the knots gave tiny, tight groans, nink-nink, under his weight. We leaned out, counting breaths. Mark glanced up once, grinning because he wanted to make us feel better. "See easy." The sheet twitched. A second whisper rose, "Shh." This one, not from the rope, but from the bed, as if another length of fabric were moving across it, uncoiling by itself. "Mark," Bella said, voice flattening. "Come back up, now." He frowned, confused. What the white hem by the bed slithered sfuff over the mattress, unspooling with a deliberate grace that was not gravity. Chris lunged for it. The sheet lifted like a striking snake licking the air. It looped around Chris's wrist and tightened. He swore, yanking back. Bella grabbed the trailing end and pulled. The fabric burned her palms. Fibers tightened with a wet thread squeal scream like violin strings being tuned far past pitch. "Cut it!" Anna shouted, spinning for the drawer. The nightstand yielded a small sewing kit. She flipped it open, hands shaking, and found tiny scissors that had no right to save anyone. Behind us, the closet door clicked open, keck on its own, and a soft linen rustle answered, like hands meeting in prayer. On the sill, the rope gave another little twitch, and Mark, 30 feet down, now swore. "Don't mess with the knots. We're not," Chris said through teeth. From the ceiling directly above the bed came a slow wood complaint, none like a joist taking new weight. The free sheet rose in a white question mark and then struck. It wrapped Anna's forearm and tore the scissors away, tossing them under the bed with a hard clink we could not reach. Mark heard none of it. He was still suspended, looking up at faces that had changed from hope to horror. What's the free sheet leapt again, coiling around the curtain rod and then over the ceiling light's metal mount. It knotted itself in a motion as quick as a magician's scarf trick. The dangling loop hung at throat height. We all understood at once. Mark Bella screamed. "Climb, climb now." He clawed upward, boots scrabbling. The sheet rope gave a sudden hungry yank, and Mark dropped a foot the knot above the sill, tightening like a fist. Chris tried to brace the rope. His hand slid. It's pulling from the other end. The ceiling fixture ticked and spun a quarter turn the loop below it, swinging gently swish like a pendulum, deciding the time of a death. Anna kicked the bed, drove her shoulder beneath the frame to free the sheet wrapped around it. The bed would not move. It had become the anchor of a noose. The loop lowered inches only, as if tasting the air. We stared at it, at the oval of absence it made, at the way it seemed to hold its breath. "Cut me loose," Mark cried. "Cut me!" The loop snapped forward. It missed him by inches. He screamed and tried to flatten himself against the brick. Wind gulped at the window, whoomp, and the loose curtain snapped whap like a flag. "Again," Bella said, and grabbed the loop barehanded. It burned her skin and then was simply not in her grip, as if it had never been cloth at all. It struck again. This time it found his throat. There was a wet twist sound chuck as the sheet cinched and the fibers thrummed viv like a plucked cord as it took his weight from the rope below. Mark's eyes went huge. His fingers clawed at the white band eating his neck. He couldn't scream now. The sound squeezed into a thin wheeze. We threw ourselves at the knot around the ceiling fixture. It was not a knot anymore. It was a single intention made out of cotton. It pulled. Mark lifted from the wall legs, bicycle kicking empty air. The ceiling emitted a deep timber grunt as the fixture took load, and the curtain rod chimed ting sharp with stress. Chris did the only reckless human thing. He wrapped the loop with his forearm to take some of the pressure, and it bit him red, banding his skin. He held anyway. Bella dug under the bed with one arm, reaching for the tossed scissors like a diver feeling for a coin in dark water. Under the bed, something breathed, cool and patient, as if a mouth were pressed just above the carpet. "Please," Anna said to no one. "Please." The hotel answered with a polite knock at the door, tock-tock, like a bellhop requesting entry. Bella's fingers brushed metal. She snatched the tiny scissors and snapped them open. They were laughably small. She set their little beaks against the living sheet. They cut the first thread. The sheet screamed high and thin, though fabric cannot scream, and the sound skittered through the room like needles. 2 more snips. The loop slackened a fraction. Mark's face flushed back toward a color that wasn't death. The ceiling fixture gave a warning pop, and the plaster around it spidered in hairline cracks, tick, 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 like frost racing across a window. Almost Bella hissed, sawing with her toy. The sheet rolled to avoid the blades. It snapped tight again, and this time it yanked upward with such rage that Chris lost his grip and fell backward across the bed, knocking the tent card to the floor. The card landed face down with a papery whisper fuff, and the lampshade trembled tit on its stem. Mark's heels scuffed the brick one last time. Then he was airborne, framed in the window, a man held up by a white smile. "Look at me," he rasped miraculously horribly. "Don't look away." We didn't. We watched as the sheet loop did what it had been made to do. There was a long, tightening creak, ring, and then a single damp click key like a latch set. His body went slack. The loop held him a second longer than gravity required, as if savoring him, and then eased, leaving him swaying gently. Down the hall, a housekeeping cart rolled past without anyone pushing it, and a single glass bottle clinked tink against another in neat applause. Bella cut until her hands shook blood onto the white. The loop loosened finally enough that Mark's body slumped onto the sill, then into the room in an awful heap. We dragged him in. We knew he was gone before we touched him, but we touched him anyway because friendship has rituals even in haunted places. Anna sobbed into the sheet that had killed him. "I'm sorry," she said. "I'm sorry I couldn't." The sheet moved. We jerked back. The torn length slithered across the floor like a pale eel and slid under the bed. From beneath the mattress springs gave a little satisfied zing burn like a harp string plucked by a playful finger. "Out," Chris said hoarse. "We can't stay in this room." Bella nodded, but her eyes were on Mark's face. His mouth had a little curve to it now, a post-mortem trick of muscle. But when she leaned closer, the curve looked wrong. It looked like a quirk she had never seen him wear. "Bella," Anna whispered. "We have to go." She blinked, tore her gaze away. "Yes." We pulled the chair from the door. Chris listened. The hallway breathed its same stale breath. Somewhere far below the piano picked out a lullaby, plink, plonk, plink, sweet and off-key, the way a parent hums to a child they don't love. We stepped out. The corridor was empty to the left, and to the right it went on longer than any corridor should. The lights painted little ovals of safety on the carpet, and between them stretched dark that felt tall. We left Mark behind, not because we didn't love him, because the hotel wanted him to stay. The tent cards still lay on the carpet, flipped open now. New words had bled through the old ink, turned down complete. Sweet dreams. We didn't run. Running felt like ringing a dinner bell. We reached the elevator because fear sometimes is a straight line. The panel was brass worn to a shine by hands that had not been here for 60 years. Chris pressed down. The elevator answered with a slow chain rattle clank. Clank somewhere in the shaft, and a cable moaned, ooh, like a throat remembering a song. The doors did not open. Behind us, a door we had not noticed eased open eek, and a dark room exhaled a cold draft that smelled faintly of oranges in the sea. "Stairs," Anna whispered. We turned. The corridor had added a door while we weren't looking. Its number was 412. We stared. The hotel had folded us back to the beginning, like a magician snapping a loop shut. Down the length of the hall, a single tap dripped plip, then again plip calm as a metronome. Bella reached for Chris's hand. He gave it without comment. Anna took Bella's other hand. We started walking toward 412 because the story wanted that, and we were inside the story. As we walked, the carpet faintly hissed, "Shh," under our souls, like someone whispering the words, "Keep going," directly into the weave. At the door, Bella paused. She lifted the recorder. "Arthur," she said quietly, "if this is your game, your service, your house, we see you. We name you. But we don't consent." From inside the room came a polite two-note chime, ding-dong, like a bell at a counter. "We don't consent," Bella repeated and knocked. The door opened by itself inward into 412, which was exactly as we had left it, except that the mirror had been wiped clean. On the glass, written backward as before, 2 words waited for us: "Be still." Anna's breath shook. She took one step in. Behind us, far down the corridor, the housekeeping cart began to roll again, whirr, and the faintest soft humming rose with it. Like someone singing while they worked. We entered 412 together. We stepped back into room 412, as if time itself had folded us into the hotel's favorite page. The bed was untouched. The lamp glowed weakly, though we hadn't touched the switch. The mirror no longer said "welcome" or "come home." It said only "be still." The bulb overhead hummed like a fly trapped in glass. Anna whispered, "Why here again?" Her voice broke on the last word. Chris didn't answer. He was staring at the bed, at the clean sheet stretched across it like skin pulled tight. Bella lifted her recorder. "Arthur," she said, "we don't want your service. We don't want your stories. We want to leave." The bed frame groaned, as if something enormous had shifted its weight onto the mattress. The air grew heavy. We felt it pressing not on our lungs, but on our thoughts, like someone sitting inside our skulls. Anna stepped back, shaking her head. "No, I can't. I can't stay here." She turned for the door. The knob spun, and slammed itself shut. Bang! Before before she touched it. Anna screamed, hammering with her fists. The wood shuddered and calmed. From the mirror came a wet, scratchy script like nails carving inside the glass. Letters formed. New guest. Chris pulled Anna back. Stay away. But the mirror wanted her. The surface rippled. Her reflection smiled, but she didn't. Then the reflection's hands rose, pressing against the inside of the glass. A muffled thud thump sounded from behind the mirror again and again, like someone trying to punch through. "Don't look," Bella shouted. Anna looked anyway. Her reflection lunged forward and the mirror shattered outward. Glass exploded crash, spraying the room with shards. The reflection's hands gripped Anna's shoulders. We watched helpless as she was yanked forward into the jagged frame. She screamed once, cut short as her body folded into the mirror. For a heartbeat, her face pressed against the glass, wide-eyed mouth opening and closing. Then she was gone. Only her blood remained dripping down the frame. Drip, 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 steady as a clock. Annabella cried. She clawed at the shards, but the mirror only reflected her own desperate face. Chris dragged her back. She's gone. We can't save the floor beneath him. Thudded thump like a heartbeat once, twice. Then the carpet bulged. "Move," Bella shouted. Too late. The carpet split. Two black arms of shadow burst upward, gripping Chris by the ankles. The sound was a ripping canvas reap as the floor tore open wider. Chris fought, punching at the dark shapes, but they pulled with perfect patience. His knees hit the floor, then his waist. "Bella," he shouted. "Run." She grabbed his arms. He was halfway gone. His face tilted up to hers, pale with effort. "Don't let it win." The shadows hissed like boiling water. They yanked him down. His body vanished into the hole, which closed after him with a soft, wet sound. Slurp. Bella was alone. The room went still. The mirror reflected only her. The bed waited white and clean. Then the piano began. Plink, plunk, plink, soft, sweet, lullaby slow. Bella turned. On the bed, an impression formed as if someone lay invisible across it. The sheet pulled tight, then slowly, deliberately began to tuck itself around the invisible shape. Turn down service. Bella raised the recorder. Her hands were trembling so hard the red light blinked in chaos. "You want me," she whispered. "You always wanted me." The chandelier above chimed ting, ting, ting as crystal brushed crystal in a trembling song. Her voice changed. It dropped half an octave rough, not her own. Yes. We never heard Bella again. Only Arthur Halpern's voice inside her mouth, wearing her body. The recorder clattered to the floor. The tape spun on. The last sound it caught was Bella laughing in a man's voice. Ha, ha, ha. Low rich, filling the room like a toast. And then silence. If you felt chills listening to The Death Hotel, don't forget. Like this video to support the channel. Subscribe so you won't miss the next terrifying horror stories. Comment below. Would you dare to step into this hotel? Or would you run the moment you saw it? Stay with us, if you dare.